Inflammation 101. This is a video that's very basic and it's for the average patient. And what we're going to be talking about is the concept of neuroinflammatory disease. And neuroinflammatory may not be a term that you're familiar with, and I'll be introducing you to that. Diseases that are impacted by chronic inflammation. And we as dentists and me as a periodontist are very impacted by periodontal disease, and we know that this is a disease that has a great impact on overall chronic inflammation in the body. And we've known for years that diabetes mellitus and cardiovascular disease are negatively impacted by the presence of chronic inflammation, and periodontal disease is one of the largest sources of chronic inflammation in the body. But then we talked about the term neuroinflammatory diseases, which include rheumatoid arthritis, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and multiple sclerosis. Some foods actually promote inflammation and others reduce inflammation. And if you're interested and want more scientific information on this, this is a recently published article that perhaps you could look up online. So let's get back to what I was talking about, Inflammation 101. Antioxidants are substances that can reverse the damaging effects of oxidation, and I would like to emphasize reverse. So what are examples of these antioxidant sources? Vitamins A, C, and E, green tea, red wine, and coffee. And now look at that, red wine. Does that not encourage those of us that like a little nip before dinner or with our dinner? Omega-3 fatty acids are the markers in chronic inflammation. And in response to inflammation, C-reactive protein levels rise, and cytokines, which can upregulate or downregulate the immune system, are involved in this, and that is part of a more advanced lecture. Anti-inflammatory foods, as we pointed out, include foods that contain vitamin A, C, D, and E, and are noted for their anti-inflammatory properties. Also, fruits and vegetables generally have an anti-inflammatory property. So what are some examples of anti-inflammatory foods? Cod liver oil, carrots, sweet potatoes, fish, eggs, milk, poultry, pork, olive oil. Let's look at a couple of those specifically. We as young children, our mothers gave us cod liver oil, and now we get that in fish oil capsules. Some would be surprised that pork is on this list, and what we're talking about is lean white pork, as we see in pork chops. How do I get my anti-inflammatory foods? Basically, I get them through green smoothies, and I use a device like this. There are others available. This is a NutriBullet. And I'd like to, at this point, say that I have no financial arrangements, or do I receive any honorarium for mentioning this. And these can be purchased online from Amazon for $120 or so, or I recently found out they're available at Costco as well. Now we talk about smoothies. Here's some ideas of things that you can put in your smoothie. You can use water for the liquid. You could use pomegranate juice. You could use milk. You can use V8 juice or any orange juice or grapefruit juice or whatever you want. And the basis of this should be as much spinach or kale as you can put into it, egg whites, walnuts, limes, oranges, apples, bananas, tomatoes, and carrots. Now I'm a diabetic, and so therefore I try to eliminate as much fruit as possible because I don't need the sugar. And here's a little video that talks about how I make and use these green smoothies. Personally, I get most of my anti-inflammatory products through a green smoothie, which I mix up about every other day. And I always start, and I have to get this at Costco. You can get it anywhere you want. This is 16 ounces. And basically what I do, I reach in and get 2 big handfuls, and I put it in this particular container. In that, I'll pour about 1.5 cups of milk, and then I'll spin that down. And then I will add, depending on the size, 2 carrots or 3 carrots if they're small. I'll add 2 tomatoes and a fistful of walnuts. I happen to like walnuts. Now, I use milk in there most of the time, but certainly you can use any other liquid that you want. For instance, men concerned with prostate health may want to put some pomegranate juice in there. Also, you might use some salt-free V8 juice or orange juice or anything like that. And certainly if you're going to mix this up for your children, they should be involved in mixing this up and selecting the things that they like to go in there. Orange juice, things of that nature. But what I do, I spin this down. It's got about 1.5 cups of liquid. And then I mix up what will be about 2 days worth and put it in a large jar like this. Now I'm supposed to have, 6 feedings a day as a diabetic. And so what I do is I have about an 8-ounce glass of that in the morning. Then in mid-morning I'll have about 4 ounces. Then in mid-afternoon I'll have about 4 ounces. And that will pretty well use one of these bottles. And mixing it up as I have already described for you, usually I'll get 2 jars this size, which will last me for 2 days. So that's what I do on that. But what I want to emphasize to you is use your imagination on that. Don't necessarily do what I do. This is a dynamic process. Let the children select what they want and develop good anti-inflammatory properties of diet at an early age. Thank you very much.